Hey guys, Jared James here, and welcome to episode 58 of the hashtag Jared James Show. As always, guys, if you enjoy this, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, turn on your notifications so you know when a new video gets uploaded. Make sure you share this with a friend. You guys can show these videos in your office meetings or whatever it is that you want to do with it. I much appreciate it. On today's episode, what I'm going to talk about is actually, this is kind of a two-parter. I'm going to do 6 things you need to stop doing in 2020, and that is clearly not a 6. This would be 6 things to stop doing in 2020, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do the corresponding podcast where I'm going to do another 6 things. So it's going to be a total of 12 things. I'll cover 6 right here on the Jared James Show, then I'll cover 6 on my podcast, Today with Jared James. So make sure that you get over to that podcast and check that out for the other 6. Both of them are great, so you're going to want to check out both. If you want to check out the podcast, go to connectwithjared.com. Podcast is at the bottom of the page. You can pick which platform you want to watch it on, okay? So let's start off here, guys. 6 things we want to stop doing. A lot of times, especially in the business that I'm in, where we help people, we coach people, we train people, we're so much focused on this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. And yet, the truth of the matter is sometimes the most production you will get out of anything is in what you stop doing, right? It's almost like sometimes there are relationships that you will get a lot out of, they'll add a lot to your life, and then there are relationships not by adding any more relationship in your life, just by cutting that one, the world becomes a beautiful place, okay? So sometimes it's not about what we add, it's about what we cut. So let's talk about what those 6 things are. 6 things we need to stop doing in 2020. The first thing that I want you to stop doing in 2020, stop ignoring your finances, okay? This is a big one right here, guys. I think a lot of people view their finances a lot like they view a doctor or health or anything. If I don't go to the doctor, nothing's wrong, right? That 1950s mentality, people still hold on to it today. Ignoring your finances doesn't make them any better. Guessing where you are doesn't make them any better. Eventually, tax time comes, whatever it is comes, and you've got to kind of be able to say where you are and know where you are, right? So when we say stop ignoring your finances, I'm talking as simple as doing something like making sure that you've got your QuickBooks set up on all your accounts so that throughout the year, all of your expenses are being automatically tracked, your income is being automatically tracked. I'm talking about having multiple bank accounts where you take a percentage of each check, it's going off to various places, your savings, your tax, your business expenses. I've done teachings on this before, so I'm not going to do it again right now. I'm talking that we don't ignore our finances. Our finances are something that are important. They're something that if you ignore them, it comes back to bite you, right? So we need to know where we are so we know what we can spend, we know what the ROI is on things, and we know what we can't spend, right? We don't buy things because we deserve them. We don't go on vacation because we deserve them. Can you afford them? That's what ultimately matters. What in your business brings back an ROI, right? We also don't just say, I'm going to buy everything in the world, whatever, and not invest in my business. That doesn't work either, okay? Like, there are certain things in a business you invest in that get you a return. If you want to show houses, you need to invest in a car. I think it's pretty simple. Everybody can agree with that, right? If you want to run a business, you need an office. And you can go on and on and on with this. There's coaching, there's transaction coordinators, there's CRMs, there's you got to invest. But let's make 2020 the year that we stop ignoring our finances because they're there whether we want them to be or not, okay? Let's make 2020 second thing that I want us to stop doing in 2020. Stop being so hard on yourself, okay? It's amazing to me. People are very critical of other people, but usually those people are even more critical of themselves. And some of you know what I'm talking about right now, right? Like, there's an old saying that comparison is the thief of joy, right? And especially in our industry, what we tend to do is we tend to compare ourselves to other people who have completely different levels of potential than us. It'd be like me getting on a track and wondering why I can't beat Usain Bolt, okay? I'm a fast guy. I'm not Usain Bolt fast. That's a natural type of fast. And yet what we're doing is that we are comparing our production, comparing our level of gifts, what we have, these kind of things, to other people in our area. And the problem with that comparison game is that there's always someone doing more, okay? The other problem with the comparison game is that if you are someone with very high level of potential, you might compare yourself to people who are doing less and go, I guess I'm doing good. And it keeps you from getting where you could have gone. I say at almost every event I do that success can be one of the worst things that ever happens to you. Because some of you are making $80,000 and you're killing it. And some of you are making $300,000 and you suck. because you should be higher. Like it's all about our level of potential, and it has nothing to do with comparing ourselves to this person over here or that person over there. You're accountable for what you have. You're accountable for the gifts that you were given. You're accountable for the talents that you have. You're accountable for the area that you're in. You're accountable for the season of your life that you're in. You're accountable for these things. What you're not accountable to do is to ignore everyone around you that you're doing okay against, find the one person you're not, they're doing better, and go, see, I'm no good, okay? Because that's what our minds do. So let's make 2020 the year that we stop being so hard on ourselves where nothing's ever good enough, okay? Third one, let's make 2020 the year that we stop chasing magic pills, okay? There's no magic beans, there's no magic pills, there's no magic bullets, there's no magic anything. You know, what we like to teach our students is that anything that can be built overnight can be torn down overnight. There's no magic, right? There's no substitute for hard work. There's no people who set things up for you. There's no any of that. You know, forget about business for a second. Let's just talk about your health, your physical life, your, you know, whatever. Why do you think it is that like every 3 years a new magical diet comes out that everybody's on board with, this new magical diet, right? Can I just help you guys out a little bit right now? Like if you haven't seen this after decades and decades and decades and centuries, diets don't work, okay? Lifestyles work. When you have a lifestyle of health, when you have a lifestyle of exercise, then there's no magic, put this in and don't do that, don't eat that anymore, do this anymore. It's not how your body was created, and it's not how this world was created. It's not how your business was created, okay? I did a podcast once where I talked about how, you know, life is math, business is math. It all adds up, and it's not about magic bullets. It's about putting in the work. It's about not taking shortcuts. It's about all of these things, and so let's make 2020 the year that we stop chasing magic pills, okay? Fourth one, when we talk about 2020 that I want you to stop doing is let's stop looking back, okay? When we look back on something we have absolutely no control over, I don't have a problem with looking back for a certain amount of time just to learn from it or to get better or to, you know, something like that. Just like I don't mind when someone, you know, something bad happens and they take, you know, 5-7 minutes to basically be sad. Go ahead, have your moment, but don't wallow, don't live in that moment. So 2020 is a year we want to stop looking back on what could have been and what I should have done and none of that helps you now. There's an old saying that, you know, because most people like to either live in the past or they like to live in the future. And if you have one foot in the past and you have one in the future, then you're peeing on the present. Like you're literally like, it doesn't work, right? We need to live in the now. We need to learn from the past. We need to plan and look forward to the future. But we don't want to live in the past or live in the future because the only time that we were meant to live is right now. So 2020 is the year we stop looking back. Number 5, 2020 needs to be the year that you stop labeling yourself. Have you ever stopped, like, listen to yourself sometimes? I can't tell you how often, especially a coaching company, guys, we work with a lot of you. We work in an industry where the average age is mid-50s for a real estate professional. And a lot of times what happens, they come in, we give them a free CRM, we give them these things, and we hear, you can talk to our salespeople, we hear all the time, and they go, I'm just not a tech person. I'm not organized. You know, I'm just not a morning person. I'm just not a, listen to your words. Like, listen to how you are labeling yourself. What do you mean you're not a tech person? Who was ever a tech person before they learned technology? Was anybody a tech person before I'm not a social person. I'm not a social media person. Who was a social media person 15 years ago? Nobody. How did you learn, right? That's like saying, I'm not a driver. I don't drive cars. Well, yeah, you got to go take the test and get your license and get your, like, stop labeling yourself, because what you're doing is you're creating inner narratives that ultimately become your excuse. And we learned on the last episode, right? You can have excuses or you can have results. They become your excuse for why it's not working. I'm just not technologically savvy. And you're right. As long as you act like that, as long as you keep confessing that, as long as you believe that, you will never be technologically savvy. But the moment you get rid of the excuse and you finally say, I'm going to spend a couple hours, I'm going to figure it out, If you're smart enough to be in this industry, you're smart enough to understand technology. If you're smart enough to be in this industry, you're smart enough to sit down and create systems. If you're smart enough to be in this industry, you're smart enough to figure out social media. If you're smart enough to be in this industry, you're smart enough to learn how to delegate and get out of your own way. If you're smart enough to be in this industry, you're smart enough to know to get a coach and listen to what they have to say, because they probably know what they're doing and they've done it with many other people before, okay? If you're smart enough to be in this industry, then you need to be smart enough to stop labeling yourself. It doesn't work. Now, sixth thing that we want to stop doing in 2020 is something that I put up on Instagram recently, and it's, I believe it so much, and that is stop acting like you live twice, okay? This can mean business, this can mean personal, this can mean, but here's my hope for you guys, like don't wake up 10 years from now and wonder what the heck you've done with your life. Don't wake up 10 years from now and wonder, why have I had no progress? You know, like so many of us, what we do is we have no passion for what we do. We don't take any chances. We don't take any risks. We're so that we ultimately wake up in the morning, we're laying in bed, and then we go throughout the day figuring out what it's going to take to get back to that position in the bed, because it's the most comfortable place in our lives. So we can watch episode 3, you know, of season 2 of You, if that's what the show is called. I'm not even sure, okay? But like, you see what I'm saying though? Like, I was watching the other day, Dave Chappelle got the Mark Twain Prize, and I was watching some videos on that. I always love watching that stuff. I love stand-up comedians. And people were telling stories about Dave Chappelle, and one of them was, I forget his name, it's like Aziz or Ariz or whatever his name is, the comedian, right? And he's telling this story about how he's on tour with Dave and he's really tired, and Dave Chappelle comes up and tells him, hey man, I just found out that I'm gonna get the Mark Twain Prize. And he's like, oh man, that's really cool, it's really cool. And he's like, you wanna go out and make a night of it tonight? And the guy, Aziz, whatever his name is, I apologize to him if he sees this, like I apologize. And he says, you know, I just don't think I can do it. I went hard last night. I need to get some rest to get ready for tomorrow, for my next, the next city we're going to. And Chappelle says, yeah, that makes real sense. That makes real sense. Hey, tell me something. And he says, when you look back on your life and you're talking to your kids and your grandkids, are you going to tell them about that time that you were with Dave Chappelle the day he found out that he was getting the Mark Twain Prize and you partied it up with him for the whole night? Or are you going to tell your kids, I went to bed? Which one? And he was like, point made, let's go, right? Now, I'm not saying, guys, to ignore your responsibilities and be idiots and whatever. What I'm saying is, stop acting like you live twice. Like, live a little. Take some risks. Have some fun. Say things like funs. Do things that are outside of the norm. Like, don't always just stick to your classic, well, this is what we do, this is when we do it, you're gonna regret it. Life is about more than just making money, making children, making whatever. It's about living a little. You're not gonna get a second chance. So my advice to you, these are the first 6 of the things to stop doing in 2020. We're gonna put the second 6 on the podcast today with Jared James. Again, go to connectwithjared.com. That's where you can see that podcast and really get the full whatever. That'll be going up soon. What I'd like to know from you guys, if you could comment below, what are you going to stop doing in 2020? Like, get accountable, post it below. What are you going to stop doing in 2020 you know you need to stop doing? Guys, if you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up. As I said, leave the comment below. Let me know what you're gonna stop doing. Make sure you're subscribed, turn on the notification, share it with someone you think that would benefit from it. I hope I see some of you live at events that I'll be doing coming up. Love you guys, talk to you soon.